Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the Gender and Society. As the team Mamshis takes over the floor, fasten your seatbelts and get ready to lend your eyes and ears as we introduce ourselves. Starting with yours truly. Hi everyone, my name is Martin Santiago Paha, the leader of the team Mamshis.
Hi everyone, my name is Rafa May Lustanya and I am the assistant leader of Team Mamshis.
Hello everyone, I'm Julie Rose Ailosaria, a member of Team Mamshis.
Hi everyone, my name is Giljoy Hiramis Ligaya and I am from Team Mamshis.
Hi everyone, I'm Shana Laika Armuada, a member of Team Mamshis.
Hello and good day everyone. I am Pauline Joy Peralta Laconsa from the Anyag team of Team Mamshis.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacqueline L. Maraet, a member of Team Mamshis.
Hello everyone, my name is John Paul Arnabable, a member of Team Mamshis.
Hi everyone, my name is Marcus Cedric E. Pascual from Team Mamshis.
Hello everyone, I am Shiny Rose Marbebe, a member of Team Mamshis.
My name is Wendell L. Notario, a member of Team Mamshis.
Hello everyone, I am Angeline M. Man, a member of Team Mamshis.
At this time, let us hear the yell of the team Mamshis. Madlang people, who's on the floor?
Move! Give way! Mamshis is on the way! Move! Give way! Mamshis is on the way! Move!
Let's proceed to the lesson proper. Lesson 12, Women and the Law. Under this lesson, we will tackling the various laws promoting gender equality, national programs, women's right to participate, women's involvement in civil society, and the women and education. Our learning outcomes for today's lesson is to know about the various Philippine laws affecting women, to identify the various rights of women, and lastly, is to better understand the impact of these laws and rights to the Filipino women and society. What is exactly the 1987 Constitution? It states that it is a constitution of the Philippines or a supreme law of the Republic of the Philippines. It is signed last February 2, 1987, and its message is to encourage love and compassion for our country, which is the Philippines. It also shows how powerful messages about profound roles and responsibilities to every Filipinos and to our society. What is meant in the Article 2, Section 14 of the Constitution? It is the state that recognizes the role of women in nation building and shall ensure the fundamental equality before the law of the women and men. It is anchored to the Philippines for its very well-known liberal and progressive constitution that was formulated during the euphoria of people power revolution in 1986, whom are involved in the Article 13, Section 14 of the Constitution. Women's right and women's empowerment are very important to the Philippine society, as this ensures inclusive growth and development of our country. Thus, this series of laws not only promote gender equality, but also gives protection to our women's right and enhances women's empowerment.
Various laws promoting gender equality. The legal framework provided for by the 1987 Constitution resulted to various legislations promoting gender equality. These legislations include the following: Local Government Code of 1991 provides for the election of sectoral representation, including women in local legislative councils. This law provides a more responsive and accountable local government structure instituted through a system of decentralization, and it provides power to any local legislative, including women. Party list law provides for the creation of women-oriented or women-based parties to compete under the party list system. Women is one of the 9 sectors identified in the law. One sector of this law is about women. They gave women a parties for them to be elected in some party list system. Labor Code of 1989 covers issues such as night work prohibition, specifies that employers must provide special facilities for women, prohibition of discrimination against women in respect to terms and conditions of employment, and prohibition of discrimination by reason of marriage of a woman worker. This act extends or provides protection to labor, and it strengthens the constitutional rights of the workers, such as prohibition of discrimination to women, and provides respect in any kind of work they have. Women in Nation Building Law, Republic Act 7192 of 1991, is an act promoting the integration of women as full and equal partners of men in development and nation building. The law provides that a substantial portion of government resources be utilized to support programs and activities for women. The law also encourages the full participation and involvement of women in the development process and to remove gender bias in all government regulations and procedures. Since women has more rights now, we can see how or what are the difference of how humans treat girls now and at the past. Women now has more opportunities compared in the past, and it is because of the different kinds of law that removes gender bias. 1988 Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law gave Filipino women the right to own land that previously reverted to sons and other male family members. This law promotes social justice and industrialization, providing the mechanism for its implementation and for other purposes. Republic Act 7688 of 1994, an act giving representation to women in Social Security Commission. This law represents women to Social Security Commission. This act, which originated in the Senate, was finally passed by the Senate and the House of Representatives. Anti-Sexual Harassment Law RA 7877 of 1995, an act declaring sexual harassment to be unlawful in the employment, education, or training environment. This law valued the dignity of every individual, enhanced the development of it. Human resources guarantee full respect for human rights and uphold the dignity of workers, employees, applicants for employment, students, or those undergoing training, instruction, or education. Republic Act 7822 of 1995, an act providing assistance to women engaging in micro and cottage business enterprises. This act is an act to provide all assistance to Filipino women in their pursuit of owning, operating, and managing small businesses enterprises. Republic Act 8353 of 1997, an act expanding the definition of the crime of rape, reclassifying the same as a crime against person. This act expanded the definition of the crime of rape in the revised penal code and reclassified it as a crime against persons instead of as a crime against chastity.
The national programs, based on the Philippine laws, stated a myriad of projects, initiatives, and processes on the gender challenge arose. This includes the following. First, in the national program is the Philippine Plan for Gender Responsive Development from 1995 to 2025. It is considered as the overall frame that is also the point of reference for the discussions and monitoring of gender mainstreaming. And also, this national plan for women that consolidates an action of commitments of the Philippines during the Beijing World Conference on Women. Second is the Gender and Development Budget, or the GAD. The next national program is aiming for the institutionalizing gender concerns in the mainstreaming development process and agenda, and not just only peripheral programs and projects of the government. Hence, this government also means that women can partake a role in a governance. The third one is the Framework Plan for Women, or the FPW. This national program for women of the Philippines developed or focuses on these three thrusts. First, promoting women's economic empowerment. Second, advance and protect women human rights. And third, promote gender responsive governance. Through this, we can identify or pinpoint the target and indicators by giving the concrete gender issues that we will be addressing.
Women's right to participate, involvement in civil society and education. According to Article 5, Section 1 of the 1935 Philippine Constitution, states that suffrage may be exercised by male citizens of the Philippines, not otherwise disqualified by law, who are 21 years of age or over and are able to read and write, and who shall have resided in the Philippines for 1 year and in the municipality wherein they propose to vote for at least 6 months preceding the election. The National Assembly shall extend the right of suffrage to women, if in a plebiscite which shall be held for that purpose within 2 years after the adoption of this Constitution, not less than 300,000 women possessing the necessary qualification shall vote affirmatively on the questions. In the first sentence of the Constitution, it is clear that suffrage may be exercised by male citizens if they are qualified by law only. They don't need to have a poll or vote for them to have the right of suffrage. Unlike the women, more than 300,000 women votes in its favor during a national plebiscite. 2 years after its adaptation, the right to vote will be extended to women. Aiming to direct plebiscite campaign to gather the support of many women, the General Council of Women was established in Manila. The establishment of the General Council of Women in Manila was proven to have a good impact as it was able to get the support of some of the biggest and popular activists and organizations like Concepcion Felix D. Calderon, who formed the Association Feminista Filipina in June 1905, Rosa Sevilla de Alvero, and a young Trinidad Almeda, Miss Constancia Poblete, founder of Liga Femenina de la Paz, Pura Villanueva Calao and Paz Mendoza Guazon, Pilar Hidalgo Lim, President of the National Federation of Women's Clubs, Josefa Llanes Escoda, President of the Girl Scouts of the Philippines, Ugnayan ng Kababaihan sa Politika, 1998. After 2 years, finally, in 1937, women's right to vote was granted with 447,725 women voted in its favor while 44,307 women interestingly voted against it. Up to these days, women's right to vote and participate are maintained and further protected by existing laws at hand. Civil society are groups or organizations working in the interest of the citizen. They mostly do it to point out gender-specific issues of all women groups within broad coalition and are also pioneering women advocacies both in policies and in legislation. These are the examples of women groups: Filipina Feminist Movement, Militan Gabriela Women's Group, Ugnayan ng Kababaihan sa Politika, Kilos Cabaro or Act Sisters Coalition, Cebu Legislative Network. There also exists a so-called Philippine NGO Beijing Scoreboard, formerly known as National Steering Committee or NSC of NGOs for the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women, which is leading the national monitoring of the government's implementation of the Beijing Platform for Action. Along with other women groups and gender-oriented institutions, they have succeeded in raising gender-specific issues. Examples: domestic violence, prostitution, reproductive health, sexual harassment, and rape. With the intense effort by the women groups to influence the government, the passage of several landmark laws have been done. Examples: Anti-Sexual Harassment Law in 1995, Anti-Rape Act in 1997. With all of this, we can conclude that women involvement in civil society has a positive impact, not only to the women, but also to the men and children. We all know the importance of education. In today's world, having education or being educated is so advantageous. As the technology and society advances, education is helping us to keep up by improving ourselves. Education even extends itself to our personal growth. By constantly educating ourselves, asking questions and wanting to know more, we can move forward and achieve things we never imagined before. It helps us to become better citizens, get a better paid job, shows the difference between good and bad. Education shows us the importance of hard work, and at the same time, helps us to grow and develop. Thus, we are able to shape a better society to live in by knowing and respecting rights, laws, and regulations. In the 1937 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Article 14, Section 2, it was stated that the state shall establish and maintain a system of free public education in the elementary and high school levels, without limiting the natural right of the parents to rear their children. Elementary education is compulsory for all children of school age. This means that the Philippine educational system is a combination of public and private institutions within the state providing free education for elementary and secondary levels. There is no general discrimination of girls in education, for both men and women have the rights to be educated. There is also no marked differences existing in the educational status of Filipino women and men. Only one glaring issue related to this is the gender stereotyping of fields of study and specializations. Sample situations are: the women should stay at home and the man should go to work. Being a driver is a man's work. A male car mechanic is better than a female mechanic. The discrimination towards women in the sample fields and specializations were obvious in the provided examples. Despite having the same education, it is undeniable that there are still some fields or works that the society thinks are better suited to men than to women. This issue has been around ever since. Many are trying to eliminate it, and plenty of groups and organizations even made movements just to push equality regarding this issue. In my observations, the effects of these movements can be seen, and all of this will continue. Surely, one day, this issue will also begin.
Violence Against Women and Their Children Act, or RA number 9262. So what is RA 9262, or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004? So it is an act as a result of strong advocacies on women's human rights in the country. This law was deemed to be a significant victory for all Filipino women, as it was based on the right of women not to suffer abuse, discrimination, and violence in their respective relationship. It is a law that seeks to address the prevalence of violence against women and their children by their intimate partners, like their husband, live-in partner, or even boyfriend or dating partner. So with what is violence against women and their children under RA 9262? It refers to any act or a series of acts committed by an intimate partner, husband, ex-husband, live-in partner, and so on, who the woman had sexual or dating relationship. It is against a woman who is his wife or former wife, against a woman with whom the person has or had sexual or dating relationship, against a woman with whom he has a common child, and against her child, whether legitimate or illegitimate, within or without the family abode.
Pre, shot pre!
Kampay! Happy birthday sa bata mo!
Ano problema?
Wala na tayo lim nun. Huwag na to. Wala na.
At lang mga ako.
Balik ka tayo.
Hop! Ya! Ya! Ako kwarta be. Sin!
Ano?
Ako kwarta be.
Wala na ko sang kwarta.
Hindi ko pagpahiri sa mga kaupo dyan sa inyo ma.
Hindi ka magamusin na wala ko labot. Birthday pa naman sang bata.
Hindi mo ko pagpahirian sa mga kaupo sa inom.
Ano na?
Nga man dahil ngayon kwarta. Sa inom ma.
Sige lang eh.
Di lang yung kapal sa ako. Ha? Nakat? Di. Uma, isa!
Hindi ka kami ko!
Uma, isa!
Features of the law include 4 kinds of violence, which are physical, like punching, slapping, psychological, embarrassing you in public or in front of family, friends, workers, or people you work with, sexual, any sexual behavior or sexual act forced upon a woman man, or child without their consent, and lastly, the economic violence, wherein a situation in which someone harms another person in a close relationship using money or property. With economic abuse, money becomes a way to control the victim. So again, the four kinds of violence are physical, psychological, sexual, and economic. Number 2, violence against women and children is a public crime. The crime is perpetrated not only against a single individual but against the entire society. Thus, anyone who has personal knowledge of the abuse, violence, or discrimination can file a complaint. 3. Protection orders can be issued against the perpetrator. Upon filing the case, the victim, survivor, or anyone who has personal knowledge can apply for an order to enforce distance between her and the perpetrator. Number 4. Stronger community mechanisms to respond to cases. Various government agencies are mandated to aptly respond or formulate mechanisms to respond to cases of violence against women and children immediately. A protection order under the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children law is defined as a protection order is an order issued under this act for the purpose of preventing further acts of violence against women or her child, and granting other relief as may be needed. The relief granted under a protection order serve the purpose of safeguarding the victim from further harm, minimizing any disruption in the victim's daily life, and facilitating the opportunity and ability of the victim to independently regain control of her life. The provision of the protection order shall be enforced by law enforcement agencies. The following may be availed through a protection order. Prohibition of the respondent or perpetrator from threatening to commit or committing personally or through another any of the acts penalized by the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children law. Prohibition of the respondent from communicating with the petitioner or the victim, directly or indirectly. Removal and exclusion of the respondent from the residence of the petitioner, whether temporarily or permanently. Directing the respondent to stay away from the petitioner and only designated family or household member at a distance specified by the court. Directing lawful possession and use by the petitioner of an automobile and other personal effects regardless of ownership. Granting temporary or permanent custody of a child, children to the petitioner. Directing the respondent to provide support to the woman and her child if entitled to legal support. Prohibition of the respondent from any use of or possession of any firearm. Restitution for actual damages caused by violence inflicted, including property damage, medical, and loss of income. Directing the Department of Social Welfare and Development or any appropriate agency to provide temporary shelter and other social services that the petitioner may need, and provision of other forms of relief as may be necessary to protect and provide for the safety of the petitioner.
Protection orders. A protection order under the Anti-Violence Law is defined as an order issued for the purpose of preventing further acts of violence against a woman and her child, specified in section of this act, and granting other necessary relief. The relief granted under a protection order should serve the purpose of safeguarding the victim, minimizing any disruption in the victim's daily life, and facilitating the opportunity and ability of the victim to independently gain control of her life. So this anti-violence stands for Anti-Violence Against Women and Children. This anti-violence law was created to prevent acts of violence against women and children. This law serves as a protection to woman and her child. In this law, it's not only for protection, but it also aims to limit any interruption to a victim's life and helping the victim to gain control of her own life. The law enumerates the following reliefs that may be availed through a protection order. Number 1. Restriction on the respondent threatening to commit or committing any of the acts punishable under the Anti-Violence Law. Number 2. In the VAUSI, the perpetrator is prohibited from having a contact or communication with the victim. Number 3. Eviction of the respondent from the victim's house, whether temporarily or permanently. Number 4. Specified by the court that a respondent should maintain a certain distance from the victim and any selected family. Number 5. Directing lawful possession and use by the petitioner of an automobile and other personal effects regardless of ownership. Number 6. Granting the petitioner a temporary or permanent custody of child. Number 7. The respondent has a duty to provide support to the woman and her child if entitled to legal support. Number 8. The respondent is prohibited from any use of deadly weapon and order him to surrender the same, including revocation of license and disqualification to apply for any license to use or possess a firearm. Number 9. Restitution for actual damages caused by violence inflicted, including property damage, medical expenses, and loss of income. Number 10. Directing the Department of Social Welfare and Development or any appropriate agency to provide temporary shelter and other social services that the petitioner may need. And last, provision of other forms of relief as may be necessary to protect and provide for the safety of the petitioner. VAUSI has been primarily meant for the protection of women and children. If a woman and her child is a victim of abuse, she can file a complaint or case under the revised Penal Code. Next, let's proceed to the rights of victim survivors of VAUSI cases. Republic Act 9262 specified the following as rights of the victim survivors. Section 35, Rights of Victims. In addition to their rights under existing laws, victims of violence against women and their children shall have the following rights. The first is to be treated with respect and dignity. Next, to avail of legal assistance from the Public Attorney's Office and the Department of Justice or any public legal assistance office. To be entitled to support services from the DSWD and LGUs or local government unit. To be entitled to all legal remedies and support as provided for under the Family Code. And last, to be informed of their right to apply for a protection order. The right to privacy of the victim is also provided in the law, and its violation is punishable by imprisonment and fine. So, these rights are important to empower women and children, and to provide opportunities to establish a strong alliance for the promotion of women and children rights. I believe that a woman and her child deserve to be loved and to be treated ethically. It is necessary to look forward on victims' needs, ensure a woman and child protection. They deserve a support from a local government, and of course, they deserve a fair justice and equal rights. This act is significant because it recognizes femicide and gender-based violence that requires collaboration among organizations to improve women's livelihood. It recognizes the growing concerns about women and children's health and well-being. This law integrate and coordinate efforts to prevent and respond to violence against women and children on a systematic basis.
Section 47, Duties and Functions of Barangay Officials. In order to eliminate violence against women and their children, barangay officials shall undertake an education program on Republic Act No. 9262 and on violence against women and their children and why it exists, the rights and of victim survivors, and the duties of residents and all barangay officials. Have a family violence prevention program, including peer counseling for men, support organizing efforts and development programs for women in the community, prioritize livelihood projects for victim survivors, involve women in planning and implementation of all programs and projects in the barangay. Have an anti-violence against women and children desk officer in this barangay who shall coordinate a one-step help desk. As much as possible, this help desk shall be open for 24 hours. Ensure that all barangay officials, barangay health workers, barangay nutrition scholars, other barangay workers, and tanod or barangay security officers undergo gender sensitivity seminars to enable them to respond to victims of violence. Develop a system to document and report cases of violence against women and children and assistance program to victims thereof, and if applicable, prescribe additional guidelines and standards provided that these are consistent with the Act. The roles of the national and local government units are valuable in the implementation of Violence Against Women and Children Act. You will realize whether the specific barangay interviewed was fulfilling its duties in accordance to law. So, those were the duties and functions of barangay officials, which was really important.